You have to think about life support systems for the moon. You're going to need fresh food, clean air, pure water, consistent energy to keep everything running. Health, medical, communications, all designed into the habitat.
Welcome to the Velstrad podcast, powered by Velocity Strategics. Today we're joined by Matt Fulkerson, the visionary owner of transforming a decommissioned Cold War missile silo into Atlas Ad Astra, an adventure resort and educational center for space habitat studies. Matthew, thank you so much for joining us today. How are we doing?
I'm doing just great. I'm glad to be on here today.
Please explain to us a little bit about Ad Astra. I know that it can be a little bit daunting, so part of the reason we want to have you on the episode is because it takes a certain kind of mindset to do something like this. And this is the kind of message that we like to deliver to our audience in the podcast.
Yeah. Well, just a little bit about my past. I've been in the hotel and restaurant industry for years. Since I was 18 or something like that. I'm in my 40s now. So over the years, I studied international business, hotel and restaurant management. I've managed a hostel in Amsterdam, a lodge in the Ozarks, a ski lodge in Oregon, up on Mount Hood. But now having my own place, it's where it's at. And what I'm doing is I'm developing an old decommissioned missile base that was abandoned by the government back in the 60s. And it was just an abandoned bunker for over 50 years until I came across it. And so what I've been doing is renovating the place. First, I had to gut it out completely, asbestos floor tile, lead paint, moldy walls, 50 years without air handling, mold had crept into the bunker. So I had to gut the place completely, and now I'm fixing it all up. I'm developing the 2 floors, which is about 2,500 square feet of space, into an OMG destination on Airbnb. Airbnb sponsored me with $100,000 to turn it into a new destination for their platform. And I am also...
Very cool.
Yeah, no, I'm having a lot of fun. I have it as an adventure campground as well. So RVs, van life, tent campers. I have people from around the world coming and staying at my place. And then I give historical tours of the missile base. So each and every day, right now, I'm still in the construction phases of finishing out the lower level, but I already have the top level done, and I've booked it out to over 100 guests who've stayed through Airbnb underground in the bunker.
That is very cool. I want to make sure that with the audience, we get this, we go over this again at the end of the podcast. But if you can tell everyone where we can find you online or any sort of social media platform, as well as specifically where are you located, so people can come stay where you Ad Astra is.
So I'm right in the center of the United States, right in the middle of Kansas, actually. It's a great midway stopping point if you're driving on through the United States. Say, like, if you've been coming out of the Rockies in Colorado, you've been driving for 5.5, 6 hours, and it's time to pull over, stretch your legs, go for a hike, and explore something cool. I'm located right close to Lake Wilson and the city of Wilson. Lake Wilson is one of the largest, cleanest lakes in the state. It's a 9,000-acre lake. So great water recreation, but they also have over 20 miles of mountain biking trails that are epic rated top 10 in the nation. The city of Wilson is known for its rich Czech heritage, all the Czechoslovakians who immigrated here in the 1800s. So you can get your photo taken by the world's largest hand-painted Czech egg in town, just 2 miles away. And then it's nestled right in the Smoky Hills of Kansas. So beautiful views of the rolling hills and of the post-rock wind farm is right here too. It's the wind belt of America. So it's kind of mesmerizing seeing all the wind turbines doing their thing. But it's a gorgeous location, which is why I thought, this is a hidden gem for tourism. And I originally got an investor to help me purchase the place. Tragically, he died a year after we bought the place together. And for several years, I just sat on it. I really didn't know how to move forward without any funding. Then finally, I came to this realization that nothing's going to happen out here unless you come out and start working. So on the weekends in my free time, I would drive over 2 hours from Topeka, where I was living at the time. I throw a hammock up in the tree and I just start gutting out the bunker, cleaning up the property, and making it feel more park-like.
You just did it on your own.
Yeah, when I felt like it was safe enough to give tours, I opened it up as a campground, and I've just been funneling money from camping and tours right back into the project. So it's been slowly but surely trying to tackle this, but, I'm starting to gain momentum and things are finally coming about. So
that's so very cool. So ironically, one of the most beautiful places, and forgive my ignorance, but Kansas is in the plains. Yes.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So one of the most peaceful beautiful places in America is where our deadliest weapons would have been launched from Cold War era and now have been turned into like a destination retreat for Americans or even international tourists kind of just driving cross country.
That's right. The Atlas was our first ICBM that we developed. It was all kind of a response to Sputnik going up in the 50s. We recognized if the Soviet Union had the rocket technology to send a spy satellite into space, they could send over nukes. So very rapidly, we started developing our own missile defense systems. So
That's an
the
easy sell for all the nerds out there trying to come check a place out like yours.
Yeah, I mean, the silo
Very easy.
goes down 176 feet deep. It was our first hardened bunker to withstand a nearby nuclear strike and keep that rocket safe underground. The surface is like 9 foot thick concrete. You have 3 foot thick blast doors that would open up. An elevator would lift the rocket to the surface, and then it would launch off. Now, they placed them here in the center of the United States so we would have that longer operating window. If this was operational from 61 until 65 during the height of the Cold War. So you had the Cuban Missile Crisis going on, the JFK assassination happened. The officers working here thought at any moment we may have to launch, but fortunately this was never used as a weapon of mass destruction.
Thank God.
Yeah, what's interesting is when they decommissioned the program, there was a technology transfer between the Air Force and NASA for our great space race with the Russians. So we repurposed the rocket. We took off the warhead and put on a space capsule and sent some of our first astronauts into orbit on top of an ICBM. But, this was operational for 4 years and then obsolete, and they just left the bunker there. First dibs on the property went to the city of Wilson. They could have purchased this for $1. It cost $12.8 million to build this bunker back in 1959, $60. You can have built it today for $150 million.
That is wild. Okay, so to change pace a little bit here, how do we end up here? What is the thing that made Matthew say, I need to go to Kansas, start digging, and turn this into an Airbnb destination? What was the spark? What was that moment, that catalyst that makes you do something like this? And if you could tell us, I know that you're still working on it. You did get a sponsor from Airbnb, which is very cool. But what is the North Star? Besides what is the motivation, the North Star, what does this place look like 5 years from now? What is the North Star for you? When you first started this, what was the vision?
Well, when I first got into this, my vision was hospitality with the campground, with the underground stays. I saw this as a really cool location that can intrigue a lot of people and inspire them. But the more I give these historical tours, the more I'm getting into the educational side of things. And so really my ultimate goal is to develop this missile silo into an educational center for space habitat studies, featuring the sort of sustainable technologies we would need to set up a lunar base on the moon or a colonization project on another planet. So the idea is that when guests come here, that they can be inspired, that they can see real technologies that they could start implementing into their own lives. You have to think about life support systems for the moon. You're going to need fresh food, clean air, pure water, consistent energy to keep everything running. Health, medical, communications, all designed into the habitat. So what I'm doing...
The psychology, right, too, right? I think we touched on that last time. The psychology of being in a confined space for a long time. You can get all those resources right, but if the mind breaks down, it's kind of a wrap.
And so I do some of those psychological tricks for the mind with curtains and false windows. It gives you that illusion that you're not in a bunker. In fact, I was just talking with the CEO of a startup company out of San Francisco who's working with digital windows. And the Stanford study that they're having done right now, it shows that learning can increase in some of these school classroom settings where it feels like you're just in a box in a room. All of a sudden you can put up these digital windows that are interactive. So like they will film an ocean scene where the waves are going for 24 hours. So you can even have daylight happening in the morning, where it feels like the sun is rising or the sun is setting in the evening. And those views can trick your mind and those circadian rhythms also, so that you're not stressed out thinking, oh, I'm in a bunker.
I see. So it's almost like a necessary illusion to kind of trick the mind to thinking that everything's okay.
Right. And so...
are you familiar with a Sunshine movie, a sci-fi movie? directed by Danny Boyle. It came out like maybe 12, 14 years ago.
I don't believe I've seen it yet.
Okay, obviously I'm a nerd about this stuff, so I can listen to you talk about this all day. But if you are a sci-fi movie guy or or a movie buff, it's called Sunshine.
Okay.
The mission, it's the sun is dying and they need to send a ship to kind of restart the sun, so to speak. But in the ship, it takes years to get there. And in the ship, they have kind of like a module where the astronauts that are traveling have an ability to kind of basically have exactly what you described. It's a little box where they just have ocean or a park or nature just to kind of soothe them for a little bit. And the psychologist on board is the one that prescribes these experiences for them to kind of relax them a little bit. They just isolate and they kind of experience exactly what you're describing right now. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I would love to integrate in these new technologies, whether it is through just like digital windows or even virtual reality that can help with the mind. But when you start thinking about systems for like fresh food, I am developing out an aquaponics system where you take nutrient rich water from fish, you flow it into hydroponic grow beds, and the roots suck up the nutrients. It filters the water, and the water goes back clean to the fish. It's a closed loop system that conserves your water consumption. So now NASA discovered using the red and blue spectrum of light, you can grow indoors year round. Now I don't have to worry about global climate change, winter, summer, rain, or shine. I can harvest every week on schedule and no need for chemicals or pesticides on the food either. So really, it's a great way of being able to grow food indoors right next to the kitchen where you're always eating healthy, fresh food.
Wow. So how much can you harvest, would you say? Like, is it enough for I would assume that it's enough for how many people you can sleep in the
Well,
space?
I'll tell you what, there are companies right now that are taking like a shipping container and 230 square feet of space. You could grow the same amount of food as a 2-acre farm above ground. So
Underground. You can do that with that space of how's that? How does
you
that work?
could do that in a shipping container. So you have vertical grow beds, which allow you to be able to save on your space. You're not laying it out on a large platform or something like that. So these vertical grow beds could actually just move to the side. You can harvest, move to the side, you can harvest, and they have the LED lights all embedded in there to keep everything well lit and growing.
That is so cool. I'm a nerd about this, so this is right up my alley. So as far as let's go over like industry landscape. What are the biggest? This is obviously a bit of a niche kind of destination when it comes to anywhere, but including especially Airbnb. But in the landscape of where this is now, what are the biggest shifts or trends that you're seeing in your industry right now, as far as Airbnb or silos that are in Airbnb?
Well, adventure tourism is one of the fastest growing segments in the hospitality industry right now. People are not looking for your typical, okay, I want to stay in a hotel at a beach or something like that. People are looking for interactive stuff and things that are out of the ordinary, things that they could tell their friends that they did that no one else has already done. Right. And so when it comes to, incorporating things that turn this vacation into an adventure, I'm looking at doing things like a obstacle course on my property, similar to what the military uses for training confidence in their soldiers. I get a lot of Boy Scout and Girl Scout troops through. In fact, I have a Boy Scout troop coming tomorrow from Colorado. But a few years back, I competed on a TV show called American Ninja Warrior. I went as a
Yes,
silo ninja, so I love
we have those out here in Las Vegas,
challenges. I think
down the street from here, literally down the street from here.
uh-huh. No, and so I think people are looking for those sort of things that they can say, "Hey, yeah, I did this," and none of their friends could say that they did that either, because there's only a few missile base owners out there that actually open them up for people to tour or to
Right.
explore. The rest keep them very private.
Yeah, well, it's for actual, like, they think they're gonna expect to use it one day for sure within their lifetime.
Well, one guy that
I'd like to believe that they're wrong. I really hope. I'm crossing my fingers.
Well, one guy I'm really inspired by is he converted his missile silo here in Kansas, right next to mine, into a 15-floor luxury condominium complex. It's known as survivalcondo.com. You can look it up. He turned 7 levels into residential units. Each floor is about 2,000 square feet of space. Then the rest are amenities. There's a movie theater, bar, rock climbing wall, indoor swimming pool, indoor firing range, gaming rooms, gyms, even a
That's
dog
right.
park. But he takes
A
things
dog
very
park.
seriously. As
And this is a residential or Airbnb?
this is residential. It's very
Oh,
private.
wow.
So the people who have bought
Okay.
in, they have military grade security, surgical suite, dental chair, their own pharmacy. They are growing fresh food for up to 75 people. They have 5 different sources of energy production and storage. Back in 2012, I was taking a client on a tour to see if they wanted to buy a full floor unit. Each floor was signed for about $3 million, and then you have your HOA fees. But I remember we were 12 levels underground in the education and library level. They have K through 12 curriculum for all the kids who may be in a lockdown scenario. Well, I ended up building a custom library for that project, a 40 feet long floor to ceiling curved around the outside of the room for that project. So he was a real inspiration for me. And he told me, Matthew, if you can start writing me checks, I can build out your missile base in 18 to 24 months, depending upon supply chain. He already has the contractors who know what they're doing. So I'm just trying to, find investors, and it's just a $25 to $30 million project.
No big deal. That is very cool. Okay, so I want to make sure that I make best use of our time. So we're 19 minutes in. Let's switch gears a little bit. When it comes to what you've been up to so far, what would you say has been clicking or working best for you when it comes to developing something like this?
Well, people are always interested in something unique. And so really I've been trying to get in the press as often as possible to get people to know I exist. It's one thing, you could have the coolest place out there, but if nobody knows you exist, that's the next thing I'm working on, is trying to get all the marketing up and running. So whether it's going to be signage on the interstate to draw the millions of people who drive along I-70, or whether it is, digital marketing. I always ask every single one of my guests who takes a tour or something to give me a Google business review, because that always helps with those Google analytics and people finding you off the interstate if they're doing just a search on Google Maps or something like that. So getting those reviews up, I'm getting 5-star reviews from just about everyone. So that's great, but yeah, it's always a hard go when for me, I'm just a one-man wrecking crew. The construction guy doing sheetrock one day, plumbing the next, the grant writer who's, figuring out how to write a proposal for a grant. The guy
Right.
who's mowing the lawn and cutting up firewood so that we can sit around a campfire drinking bourbon at night. But so I've got a lot of different hats that I wear. Eventually, I would like to have a team working with me. But when you're just a, small business, it's hard to justify spending that money on those different things when, you need to keep the lights on for yourself over the winter when it's going to be dead. So,
Right. Well, and also I mean, even if you can do that, it's really just how many hours in the day you have.
right. I have terabytes of footage, me and my GoPro or a camera setup of me working. I just have never had time to, edit it and turn it into some cool YouTube series that can catch people's attention and capture an audience who want to follow me.
That was my question. Like the documentation of this would be super interesting. That would be very cool to have, just that. Because at some point, it's the journey from where you started to get to where you are now, or the completion of it.
Right.
But you made me think of a phrase, nobody knows really the full phrase of it. People just know the niche part of it. But you are a jack of all trades. And the phrase that everyone knows is jack of all trades, master of none. But the true phrase is jack of all trades, master of none, though oftentimes better than the master of one.
Hmm.
That's you.
I've, had friends who are all like, they go, you know what? I would rather focus my energy on being the best real estate agent out there and make my money and hire someone else to do the construction or plumbing or those sorts of things. Right. But, for me, it came to this point where I kept trying to save money to be able to hire people, but it's hard to find good labor, people who will
Yeah.
actually work. And two, it can get quite expensive if you're going to be hiring everything out. So for me, I grew up doing custom woodworking with my father. And so I've always been around tools and equipment and have picked up those skills over the years. And I'm all like, a lot of this stuff I can do myself. Or I can, watch a YouTube video and be able to figure out, oh yeah, there's a reminder. That is how I can clean the pipe and fit everything together and glue pipe together for your plumbing, right? It's not
Right.
hard, but
So, okay. So a lot of these things you kind of picked up and you've been doing it already, right? But what would you say are the persistent frustrations or challenges that you have to navigate when it comes to getting this place out there, getting the notoriety. Because I think there's a huge market out there. Obviously, somebody tells me, "Hey, man, I got the silo that is an Airbnb that has been like fleshed, like, furnished and like turned into something that is livable. That not only is kind of fun to stay at, let's say you're going like across the country. I had to drive from Miami to Las Vegas. I drove from Miami Beach to Las Vegas when I moved out here.
Mhm.
So that was a long trip, man. Sometimes I just didn't know if I was going to make it. I got here with a full fever. I was eating terrible food, but I wish I would have been able to stay or known of a place to stay like yours. So when it comes to getting that word out there or tapping into that market, I'm sure if they found out that you were there, they would be more than happy to kind of book and jump at the chance to do so. What would you say are the biggest challenges when it comes to that?
So I think the biggest challenge that I've met with so far with that is one, maybe creating that compelling commercial that people can see and that will hit their Facebook feeds or their Instagrams or their TikToks or whatever that get them knowing that I'm here. Now, something that I've looked at is not just doing the typical social media, but also mainstream media. So what I do is I pitch myself to a variety of different production companies that maybe have cool shows that are going on and such. So you can find me on the Science Channel, a series called Underground Marvels. So season
Hmm.
2, episode 6, it features me when my place is raw and nasty looking, and my friend's place is all luxury and built out. So you get to
Yeah.
see that before and after my place versus survival condo. But really, so now I'm still talking with other production companies and trying to see, is there a way that either one, I could have my own show, or two, I could be incorporated into something that else that you guys already have going on. So the more exposure that you get yourself out there, the more people will be able to remember, oh yeah, didn't I see something cool about a missile base in Kansas next time they're driving through?
I think I do remember watching that show. I'm not going to say that I specifically remember the episode, but I was huge. My dad got me into this sort of stuff, like engineering. Modern Marvel was one of them. I'm not sure if it was on the same channel, but I do remember watching Underground Marvels, and that stuff is very interesting to me. Again, this is the type of thing that you know, cable is not so much what it used to be back in the day. Now it's a lot more streaming platforms, but it's I'm seeing a lot more of that stuff on like let's say on the Hulus and the Disney Pluses that are kind of own everything now. Shows that are like that folks can get their projects across in a way they might not have been able to do so in any other way. So something that's far as exposure besides just the social media platforms, it would be like the mainstream media, right? So what example would be of a mainstream media? Would it be something like Nat Geo that is on Disney Plus or anything that does?
Well, I've also filmed with the History Channel. Unfortunately, that show got shelved, but it was really interesting, having a full production team out here, at least 10 different guys. You had your camera guys and your sound guys and your lighting guys and your producers. And so it was a full on, 7 days of filming. And then to think that the whole show just got shelved and all that footage of me working is sitting someplace just collecting dust.
Is it and they have the rights to it, or do you have access to that?
I don't have access to it. They paid for all that, and so it's theirs.
I see.
I don't know that will ever come to air. And so sometimes you get your hopes up about something, and then all of a sudden they get dashed a little bit. So I've had a lot of been a roller coaster ride, from dealing with being able to buy the place to losing my partner to really making progress with stuff and then, going through a divorce. And then all of a sudden Airbnb sponsors me with $100,000 and then it's hard to find workers.
Right. Well, see, Matthew, that's something that's one of the things that really did attract me to wanting to do this episode. And here's why. So you have the mindset that we went over, which is huge. Not anybody can just do that or would do that and then get this far. That's one thing. But even if you're the things the challenges that you have overcome so far might not necessarily pertain to, let's say, somebody just trying to open up a business elsewhere, right? In any other industry. The reason I like to kind of get this message out there as well is because it's whatever problem you solve might not pertain in any way to, let's say, a chef that is opening up a new business. It's the mindset that it took for you to hurdle that obstacle. So that's something that has been the common thread that I've noticed in all the episodes that I've gotten so far. Got huge because I like to be able to kind of give that message to anyone that is listening, anyone in the audience that might be on the fence of like, man, I'd like to start this business. Man, I'd like to do this, So if someone sees this and they say, if Matthew can dig out a silo and get completion for it and be on his way and not be deterred by all the things that life can throw at us, all the curveballs and all that, what is the mindset that kept driving you to not stop to drive this to completion?
Well, I think it really helped that I was raised in a family that taught me about work ethic. And, that if you make a mistake, you can fix it. If, you come across the challenge, you can problem solve your way through it. Or you can eventually, if you can't do it on your own, you can find other people who have the knowledge and skill sets to be able to help you. And so you're constantly going to be met with different challenges along the way. But the idea is to have that fortitude to push through and not get depressed and give up. But, there's a solution to every problem. And so continue to work through and figure it out. I've had to learn patience. I thought I would be a lot further along than I am today. But, with a project of my size and scope, I guess I just had to realize, okay, at some point I'm going to get there. I wish I could move faster, and probably with the right marketing team or something like that, that could help. But in the meantime, I can go ahead and just continue to look at it this way. You see your people who are super highly successful in life, your Elon Musk in the world. Guess what? They didn't get there by sitting on their hands. They were the ones who put in the 80-hour work weeks. They were the ones who slept on the factory floor and,
True.
were intricately involved with their business and didn't just let somebody else run it. Where you call yourself the CEO and everyone else is managing and trying to figure it out. You need to have hands-on leadership and be a part of the business that you're trying to create.
Well, that's awesome because I think the everyone thinks that there's an overnight success. I think one day when you reach that North Star, it's something that it is going to be documented at some point, or someone's going to come in and help record what this place looks like as a finished product. And when it does get out there, again, if there's a bunch of people like me who are like nerds about this sort of thing, especially anyone who's born, and kind of went through like the Cold War a little bit when they were younger. It's kind of a no-brainer to kind of stay at one of these, and it's going to look and feel from the outside perspective as kind of an overnight success, even though behind all that could be like a decade worth of ups and downs and roller coaster rides. That's exactly what it is I want to ask you about. So thank you. I appreciate that. If we can look ahead a little bit, where do you see yourself and Ad Astra in the next 6 to 12 months? And what would you say is the main goal you would be driving towards in that time?
Yeah. So I'm hoping right now, with the way construction is going, that I am going to be done with the lower level by the end of the year. So that gives me 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a spa and lounge area on the lower level. The top level, there's a full kitchen. There's going to be the aquaponics center growing fresh food, and also a health center where I've already been sponsored by a company called Amp Coil that creates a pulse electromagnetic frequency device that helps harmonize your body. I'm looking into light therapy. NASA discovered that the red spectrum of light helps with plant growth, but it also helps with cellular regeneration. I'm looking
Definitely.
into a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. This increases the atmospheric pressure around your body, enabling oxygen to get to all of your cells. It helps with rapid recovery. The military has used this for years with open wound and burn victims. Now professional athletes may use one after a major game. And also researching out biohacking the body, doing the cold plunge into the sauna and back. And so this helps with stem cell regeneration in your body naturally, as well as neuroplasticity with brain body function. So the idea is when guests walk away, they're going to feel revived, rejuvenated, ready for the next day. But once I have all those things in place, I'm really going to be focusing in on the marketing aspect. Since it's been in just the construction phase, I haven't want to bring a lot of people through yet. But now if I can get the marketing figured out, then hopefully I can attract more visitors and such.
So that's time spent that you would say to finish this construction. The higher levels would be around a year or so.
Yeah. So the 6 months to a year, I hope to have everything as far as the construction done within the next couple months. and then within the next year, have this all ready to be a fully functioning resort.
Very cool. So if you had a magic wand, besides the construction stuff, if you had a magic wand, you could fix instantly one thing that's you feel like it's holding you back or maybe slowing you down towards that goal. What would you say that is?
Well, I don't know that it's necessarily slowing me down. Um, But one of the things, it's all about networking. I would love to be able to network with different space programs and other businesses that are working in this arena to be able to truly turn my place into a high end educational center where we can train up our next generation of astronauts. That's the ultimate goal in developing out the entire silo, is to create a interactive experience where guests can come learn about sustainable technologies and that you would need for living on the moon, but also be able to take that knowledge back home and maybe implement it into their own lives. Because if we can solve those challenges for living on the moon, we can solve those same challenges for living here on Earth.
Very true. Thank you so much. I think we had you for almost 40 minutes. So I do appreciate your time and your insights on this. Has been super interesting. Again, if you can tell us one more time where folks can find you online as well as location.
Yeah. So online, you can find me at my website, atlasadastra.com. So Atlas was the name of the missile that was used. Ad Astra in Latin means to the stars. It's part of the state motto of Kansas, Ad Astra per aspera, to the stars through difficulties. But so atlasadastra.com is my website. You can also find me on Instagram or Facebook at atlasadastra.com as well, or you can find links to those Facebooks and such. And there's also an opportunity to win a 2-night all-inclusive stay in the Airbnb. I do have a GoFundMe. So for every $1 donated, you get 2 entries to win a 2-night all-inclusive stay in the underground bunker. And yes, if you're driving along I-70 in Kansas, halfway between Salina and Hayes, those are the major cities near Wilson.
What was the road that you would be on?
My actual address is 354 4th Road, Wilson, Kansas, 90, if you want to pull it up that way. Or you can simply do Google search Missile Silo Adventure Resort and I'll pop up.
Okay, so and then you are on Airbnb. Is it Verbo? Is it only Airbnb? Right, because
So
it's sponsored by Airbnb, so no Verbo.
Services, Airbnb for the underground stays, but if you're wanting to be in the camping, you can book camping through my website or on other services like Hip Camp, Harvest Host, RV Overlander. There's a variety of different booking services that you can find me on.
Perfect. Well, Matthew, thanks again so much for your time. It's been a great conversation. I love everything that you're doing, and I have no doubt that you're going to make it happen, because if you made it this far, I mean, you didn't make it this far to make it this far, so you got this, man. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Well, it's just one step at a time, and I appreciate you having me on. I look forward to hosting
My
you
pleasure.
here at the Missile Base someday.
You know what? I'm going to take you up on that. That sounds like something I would love to go do.
All right. Well, just let me know when you want to come out here.
Yes, sir. And we'll make sure that folks can find you on there. The information that you gave us, we'll make sure that we can put it down as comments on there on this video, so people will be able to actually see it if they didn't get a chance to write it down.
Excellent.
Matthew, thanks again. Have a good one.